Hey guys, so in July of this year I wanted to try doing film photography so I could use my grandpa's old Canon AE-1 which he gifted me. But because it was my first time doing film photography, I had no idea how to even load the film into the camera. So I had to watch a tutorial on YouTube, which ended up being this video by Theo Crawford, which made him the first film photography YouTuber I ever watched, and I've been watching a bunch of his videos since. And I really like the videos where he does film photography in the mountains, because I feel like the film really makes the landscape look even more monumental than it already is. So overall, good creator. And I'm jealous of him. Because despite also living in a German-speaking country, he can record videos without having the most horrific German accent of all time. I bet he can even form a full sentence on the first try without having to write it down first. Weird flex. As far as I know, that's because he has family in the UK, but doesn't matter. Which is why I decided to go on a whole 13-hour drive down to his stomping grounds to become the better film photographer in the Alps.
As revenge.
I'm just joking. I live like 3 hours from here and I was gonna come here anyways, but I thought if I'm gonna be up here anyways, I might as well try to create some of the photographs I like looking at myself. Okay, well, so basically my plan for making good photographs up here is to just overexpose everything by like a lot. Because I already took some pictures with my digital camera and the mountains are so damn dark, which isn't a problem if you can edit it, but with those pictures it would be kind of sad to get down from here and get the film back and it's just a bunch of pictures of the silhouettes of mountains, which is just black and you can't see anything. So I'm just making everything so bright.
And I'm very glad I did that, because the results turned out pretty well, except for some issues I had, but we're gonna talk about those later. But I'm mostly very happy with the results I got, and I'm very happy that I didn't underexpose really any of the images, so that's good for me. The grainy and rough look of the film fits in very well with the rough nature of the environment I was shooting in. But what hits especially hard about those pictures to me is the very strong and nostalgic aspect of it. See, for me as a Southern German, what we did that day was really one of the most traditional pastimes I could engage in. Walking up a mountain, then eating lunch in one of these guest houses on top of the mountain and then going back down. This is a tradition that existed for so many years now, which is probably why my sister and I were the youngest people up there. But that's the thing. I'm gonna ask my grandpa about that later, but I would not be surprised at all if this camera already did this exact thing 40 years ago when he was using it. And if I didn't know these pictures were only shot a few weeks ago now, if you told me that they were shot like 50 years ago, I would totally believe you. It would make perfect sense, both in terms of how the pictures look and in terms of what we were doing.
You know, this video really is my photography journey kind of coming full circle. So a while ago I came up a different mountain pretty close to here, and that's back when I didn't have a good digital camera, and that's before I had any of my film cameras as well. So the only camera I had back then to kind of document that journey was my phone. And I have the Samsung Galaxy A71, which can take a good photo every once in a while, but for the most part it sucks. I really don't like the way the colors look on that phone, and I really don't like the resolution and the sharpness. You can't see anything. Which is why up until I bought this camera, the Sony CVE-10 in April of this year, I didn't do really any photography at all. And that trip really was the main reason for that, because I remember coming back down from that mountain and looking at the pictures I'd taken and just being disappointed in how they looked. Just looking so much worse than what it actually looked like in person. And really from that point on, I didn't take any pictures at all, unless there was something that was really so special that I absolutely had to take a picture of it. But other than that, I never did. I really only focused on video for a while, because I had a webcam which was able to record 4K video and which was kind of decent. So video was the only thing that I really did for a while. Up until April of this year, which is when I bought the Sony CVE-10, which is really more of a video camera, and I also bought it just for video purposes. I thought I would only use it for video. But as soon as I had it, I thought, well, I already bought such an expensive camera now, so I might as well try taking some pictures. And for the first time, I actually took pictures which I liked the way they looked. And that was what really started off kind of my journey into doing more photography as well. Since then, I also got film cameras, which are obviously also amazing, and I've been kind of jumping between digital photography and film photography on this trip, because I also wanted to have some raw files from this location that I could edit later on. But I think the film really is going to just look great if it looks anything like the pictures I've seen. But it's kind of funny that like a while back I came to such a similar location, and I came back down and looked at the pictures, and I was just so disappointed that I kind of stopped doing photography, and now I'm up here with two cameras which really excite me to create, which is great. Kind of full circle type of thing, you know, if that makes sense. Okay.
As you guys may remember, in the first video when I originally tried out this camera, I also wanted to try the 200mm zoom lens I was given. But since I was just shooting on some random field that day, there was nothing cool to zoom in on, which is why I ended up taking pictures of cars on the road to test if the lens even works. Now, up here in the mountains, there's actually a bunch of cool stuff that is very far away. So I actually got to use this lens properly this time. I tried taking pictures of the hikers walking up a different mountain next to ours, which turned out surprisingly well, considering how much of a pain it is to use this lens. I was struggling so hard. So while I'm doing all that, let's talk about some of the issues I had with the Canon AE-1 that day. A bunch of the pictures I took had this weird haze effect in some areas, which would just look grey with no detail whatsoever. Don't even try asking me why that is. This is my first time doing this, okay? If I had to guess though, I think I would say that this is probably because of condensation. While I was up there, I noticed a bunch of water condensation on the Canon AE-1, probably because of the climate up there. I always tried to remove that water, but it's possible that there still was some water on or inside of the camera causing this weird effect. I tried my best to remove that in post-production, but I couldn't fix it on every image. In general, there was a bunch of photo editing needing to be done on these images, which sucks because I usually prefer to not edit my film pictures if there isn't something very wrong with them. I hate just slapping LUTs on film pictures, because why am I even shooting film at that point? But I guess this is kind of my fault for not scanning the film myself, and when I got these scans back I just really didn't like them. Why were they so damn magenta? I had to remove so much magenta from all of these images, I don't even know why. So yeah, a bit more editing that was necessary than I would like to. But this made me so glad that I also shot on my Sony, because the raw files are just so much better for editing, which seems to just be something that seems to be necessary with pictures shot in this environment, which is probably also kind of my fault for not knowing where the sun would be when I was up there and the lighting was kind of scuffed, but we're not talking about that. I think the main reason why I continue doing film photography isn't even necessarily because of how the images turn out, but more so because of the enjoyment of actually making the images. And the Canon AE-1 was just so fun to use up there, much more fun than the Sony CVE-10 for sure. But what do you think? Which pictures do you prefer? The ones I took on the film camera or the digital pictures? Thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next video where I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. I didn't film it yet, so let's see what I end up doing then.